The year was 2008, the year the financial world slid off its axis. Banks collapsed. Fortunes evaporated. Millions lost homes, savings, retirement accounts, everything. And in Omaha, Nebraska, a man who had spent his entire life being called the oracle, the genius, the teacher, and the GOAT was quietly experiencing the single worst financial moment of his entire career. Warren Buffett, the calmest man in finance, was watching Berkshire Hathaway bleed money like a wounded giant. Not millions, not hundreds of millions. $10 billion. Gone. Vaporized. The stock market was in free fall. Berkshire Hathaway's holdings were falling with it. Wells Fargo, GE, Goldman Sachs, Coca-Cola, American Express, all pillars of the American economy, all caving under panic. For the first time in decades, people whispered, "Did Buffett lose it? Is the legend finally slipping? Is the oracle wrong?" News anchors analyzed the losses like vultures. Buffett's portfolio plunges. Berkshire crashes with the market. Is the GOAT finished? Even loyal shareholders, the ones who stayed with him for 40 years, were nervous. Some were terrified. Some sent letters begging him to sell everything, to secure cash, to protect the company. Imagine the pressure. A man in his 70s, responsible for hundreds of thousands of employees across Berkshire's businesses. A man who built a company worth hundreds of billions. A man who had never panicked in his life. Now sitting in his Omaha office watching $10 billion disappear into a black hole. Yet Warren didn't sweat. He didn't pace. He didn't hide. He sipped cherry Coke, calmly reading annual reports while everyone else screamed. Because Buffett understood something the world didn't. Losing $10 billion isn't the same as being wrong. Not when you play the long game. The market was collapsing. The world was panicking. The GOAT was losing more money in a day than most billionaires lose in a lifetime. But he stayed seated, quiet, still, because the first rule of being the GOAT is simple. Never let fear make your decisions. And Buffett knew the truth the world had forgotten. Markets collapse. Markets recover. Panic destroys wealth. Patience builds it. And in that moment, in that storm of red numbers and fear, Buffett wasn't breaking. He was preparing for what came next. Where most men see disaster, Warren Buffett sees a classroom. Every major crash teaches him something new, and this one was no different. As banks collapsed and CEOs begged for bailouts, Buffett studied balance sheets like a doctor reading x-rays. He wasn't watching the news. He wasn't following the panic. He was hunting, because Buffett understood the nature of storms. Storms wash the weak away and reveal the strong. Employees at Berkshire remember this vividly. While the world melted down, Buffett walked the halls with a gentle smile, telling anyone who would listen, "This is what opportunity looks like." While others cried, he sharpened his pencil. While others prayed, he analyzed companies. While others ran from the market, he marched toward it. He didn't lose himself because he had the three traits almost no investor possesses. 1. He separates emotion from decision. Buffett has never made a move out of fear. He watches others panic and whispers, "Thank you," because panic creates discounts, and discounts create billionaires. 2. He trusts his research more than the headlines. When journalists screamed, "Sell everything," Buffett asked, "Is the business still good?" If the answer was yes, he didn't sell. Not one share. 3. He sees money through time, not moments. Buffett isn't playing a day-by-day game. He's playing a decade-by-decade masterpiece. 10 billion lost today? Meaningless. If it becomes 50 billion gained tomorrow. And that is why, in the middle of the collapse, he did something insane, something only a GOAT could do. He started buying. When Wells Fargo collapsed 80%, Buffett bought more. When American Express looked doomed, Buffett bought more. When Goldman Sachs needed help, he wrote the check. While the world ran from fire, Buffett walked into the flames. Not recklessly, not emotionally, but with the sharpest weapon in finance. Conviction. Because Buffett knew the secret. Markets punish the impatient. Markets reward the calm. He wasn't buying stocks. He was buying the future. And the storm, the same storm that made the world call him old, washed up, finished, was about to make him richer than ever. In March 2009, the stock market hit rock bottom. It was the worst crash since the Great Depression. People were convinced it was over. The American economy was broken. Banks were dead. Consumer confidence was dead. Hope was dead. But Warren Buffett wasn't. Where the world saw ashes, Buffett saw seeds. And soon, those seeds exploded. The market turned, slowly at first, then violently upward. And guess who had filled his pockets with hopeless companies? The GOAT. Wells Fargo skyrocketed. American Express surged. Goldman Sachs rebounded. Bank of America recovered. Even GE and other crushed giants revived. Buffett's portfolio didn't just recover the $10 billion he lost. It multiplied. Berkshire's value soared. Buffett's net worth increased by more than $40 billion in the decade after the crash. His mistake became his slingshot. And now the headlines said, Buffett was right again. The Oracle strikes back. Buffett turns crisis into gold. But here's what the world still didn't understand. Buffett didn't get lucky. He didn't ride the wave. He didn't stumble into victory. He engineered it. He used the oldest, most powerful strategy in financial history. Be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy. During the crash, the world was drowning in fear. Buffett was drowning in opportunity. He had just transformed a $10 billion loss into tens of billions in gains. He didn't just protect Berkshire. He strengthened it. He didn't just survive the crash. He dominated it. And in doing so, he silenced every critic who ever said he was too old, too slow, too conservative, or finished. Because the market had spoken, and it crowned him the GOAT all over again. After the crash, Warren Buffett entered a whole new era. Not just wealthy, not just respected, but untouchable. Because surviving the biggest financial disaster of the century and coming out wealthier is something only one man has ever done. Buffett didn't celebrate. He didn't brag. He didn't spike the football. He taught. He wrote letters explaining the lessons. He hosted meetings where he calmly explained that mistakes are temporary, but principles are permanent. He reminded shareholders, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. He showed the world how to build a mindset stronger than fear. Because here's what made him the GOAT. He doesn't panic. He doesn't react to noise. He ignores short-term chaos. He focuses on long-term value. He accepts pain today for victory tomorrow. The world now saw him differently. Before, he was the man who picked great stocks. Now, he was the man who conquered fear itself. The losses didn't make him weaker. They made him sharper, more disciplined, more strategic, more aware of the psychology of markets. Buffett wasn't just the GOAT of investing. He became the GOAT of patience. Because in the game of wealth, patience is the ultimate superpower. Warren Buffett's $10 billion loss wasn't a punishment. It wasn't a warning. It wasn't the universe trying to humble him. It was a classroom. And here is what the GOAT learned. The same lessons he believes every future winner needs to understand if they want to build something that lasts longer than hype. Lesson 1. Losing money doesn't make you a loser. Even the greatest investor alive has taken blows so big they would shatter normal people. Buffett understands that mistakes don't define you. Your reaction does. A temporary loss doesn't erase long-term intelligence. Lesson 2. Staying calm is a superpower. Most people panic. Most people sell too early. Most people let fear make decisions that cost them years of progress. Buffett's strength isn't just knowledge. It's emotional control. He stays still when others shake. That stillness makes him dangerous. Lesson 3. You don't need to be right all the time. You only need to be right when it matters. Asterisk, asterisk. Buffett has made dozens of bad calls. But when he nails a decision, it changes everything. A single brilliant move can wipe out 10 average mistakes. That's why he says, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. When you do know what you're doing, time eventually proves you right. Lesson 4. The crowd is almost always wrong. The crowd panics. The crowd follows fear. The crowd chases hype. Buffett refuses to follow crowds because crowds rarely build wealth. They react to it. He waits until fear discounts great businesses, and then he buys what everyone else is too emotional to see clearly. He doesn't follow noise. He follows value. Lesson 5. Patience beats everything. Patience is the most underrated financial weapon in the world. Most people can't wait 5 months. Buffett waits 5 decades. His wealth wasn't built on speed, it was built on discipline. That's the blueprint. Stay calm. Stay focused. Stay invested. And let time do what time always does. Reveal the truth. Buffett didn't become the GOAT because he avoided storms. He became the GOAT because he learned to walk through them without losing himself. A $10 billion loss didn't end him. It refined him. It sharpened him. It confirmed what the world already suspected. He isn't just rich. He's unstoppable. And if a man in his late 70s can stare down the biggest financial disaster of his lifetime and rise even higher, then your setbacks aren't the end. They're the beginning. Your comeback is still on the table. Your next chapter is still unwritten. Your future is still bigger than your failures. And if you want more billionaire stories that build your ambition and sharpen your mind, subscribe to my channel.